why you fall for people who don't choose you fully. There's a specific kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from being rejected outright. It comes from being half chosen, from being loved in fragments, from being kept close enough to hope but far enough to never feel secure. And what makes this kind of pain even more confusing is that you don't fall for these people accidentally. You fall because something in their inconsistency feels strangely familiar. Something in their emotional distance touches an old wound inside you, a wound you've carried for so long that it has become part of how you recognize love. You don't fall for them because they're the right person. You fall because they match the emotional patterns your nervous system grew up with. You don't choose unavailable people because you want suffering. You choose them because deep down, love that requires effort feels more real than love that arrives. People who choose you halfway mimic the early relationships where affection was unpredictable. You learn to survive on crumbs. You learn to feel grateful for fragments. And now, as an adult, you gravitate toward the kind of love where you have to earn the good moments, where you have to guess where you stand, where you keep trying to prove your worth, hoping one day they will finally see you clearly. When someone doesn't choose you fully, your mind goes into problem-solving mode. You start believing that if you just do more, love more, give more, fix more, they will eventually decide you're enough. Every small moment of affection from them feels like a reward, like proof that your effort is working. You fold deeper, not because the connection is healthy, but because the little bits of validation create a powerful emotional high. The inconsistency becomes addictive. The distance becomes a challenge. And suddenly, you're not just loving them, you're trying to win them. But real love is never something you should have to win. That feeling of almost you keep chasing is not chemistry. It's emotional conditioning. It's the echo of old emotional wounds. You're not addicted to them, you're addicted to the possibility of them. You're holding on to who they could be, not who they consistently show they are. Every time they pull away, it triggers your fear of not being enough. Every time they return, it soothes that fear just long enough to keep you attached. And this cycle, this push and pull, starts to feel like destiny when really it's your unhealed past replaying itself through the present. What makes this harder is that people who don't choose you fully often give just enough to keep you emotionally invested. They text when you finally detach. They get affectionate when you set boundaries. They become warm when you start losing hope. And because you're someone who loves deeply, you take every small gesture as a sign that the relationship is shifting, that this time things might finally become real. But inconsistency is not growth. Hot and cold affection is not love. And a person who only chooses you when they feel like it will always leave you feeling unsure, anxious, and unseen. Part of why this hurts so deeply is because you're not just losing them, you're losing the version of yourself you thought you could become with them. You imagined a life where your love would be enough to heal them. You saw potential, not reality. You believed their mixed signals were temporary, not who they truly were. And now you're left trying to understand why someone you gave so much to couldn't choose you back in the same way. But the truth is simpler than you think. People don't fail to choose you because you're unworthy. They fail to choose you because they're not capable of the kind of love you deserve. Yet, it's true. Walking away from someone who never fully chose you is harder than leaving someone who rejected you immediately. Because at least rejection is clear. But half-love is confusing. It makes you question yourself. It makes you believe you're close to something real, even when you're not. It keeps you hoping. And hope is the hardest thing to let go of. Healing begins the moment you understand that someone who can't choose you fully was never going to give you the love you imagined. Not because you're too much or too emotional or too complicated, but because the version of love they're capable of giving was always far smaller than the love your heart knows how to offer. You deserve love that chooses you without hesitation. You deserve a connection that doesn't require you to shrink yourself, perform for affection, or constantly question where you stand. You deserve someone who sees your worth immediately, not eventually. And the moment you stop romanticizing almost love, the moment you stop waiting for potential, the moment you stop believing you have to work for the bare minimum, that's the moment your heart finally starts to heal. When you give yourself the love you desperately beg someone else for, you no longer crave people who choose you halfway. You stop falling for the emotionally uncertain. You stop accepting mixed signals. You stop settling for connections that leave you feeling small. You are not meant to be someone's option. You are not meant to fit into someone's life only when it's convenient for them. The love you're seeking is not found in people who confuse you. It's found in someone who meets your heart with clarity. Someone who makes choosing you the easiest decision of their life. You don't fall for people who don't choose you fully because that's what you want. You fall for them because that's what you're used to. But once you heal, once you finally understand your value, your heart stops chasing half love and starts demanding the kind of love that stays.